Hello students, how are you all? You are most welcome in standard 11 after completion of the standard 10. Now due to so many issues like as we know that COVID is encountered, and due to this corona factor we are actually going through the online sessions, that's YouTube or any other method. Though it is inconvenient, but we are supposed to go through this method. Fine. Starting with standard 11 and standard 12, you have total 10 units of the studies, especially related to your board examination and your NEET. So in NEET, the first unit is classification, right? And you have 4 chapters in this unit. Now today we are starting with chapter number 1, and it is the living world. We are going through a different characteristic feature of the living organisms and organization which are found in living organism in this session. Fine. So there are few characteristic feature which are, that's what we are about to study now. So basic properties of living organism, if we see, living beings are called as organism. Now if I talk about non-living, it is not being called organisms, it is non-living things, and we as a living being are known as organisms. So that's the first basic property of living organism. Now living organisms are similar to non-living objects in being formed out similar elements which combines in similar way to form similar molecules called biomolecule. Now in living organism, the molecules which are found to form living organisms are called biomolecules. Bio means living and molecules we know. So molecules which are found or which forms the organism, it is called biomolecules. That's what we are about to study, right? Or we are supposed to keep it in our mind. Now, they are formed with the similar molecules, but in living organism it is biomolecule and follow similar physical and chemical laws like gravitation, magnetism, action and reaction, etc. So all these basic properties, though it is physical properties, though it is chemical properties, are shared commonly by living organism as well and non-living objects as well. Now if I talk about living organism, they show great biodiversity. Diversity means differences. Bio means living. So living organisms are having so many different types, and to understand them, to study them, they are classified into different kingdoms like Monera, Protista, fungi, plants, animals, etc. But all of these share the following properties. So we are about to study all the properties which are shown by living organisms. So what they are? Okay. First property of living organism is they have definite organization. Right? We are about to see the organization into the latter half of this slide. So they have definite organization means arrangement. From this they are forming that. From that they are forming other material. Okay, fine. Second property, they always have cellular nature, so are either unicellular, that is amoeba, paramecium, etc., or multicellular, that are hydra, men, etc. So based on how many cells they are consisting, if they are made up of single cell, it is unicellular, and if they are made up of so many cells, it is multicellular. Property number 3, they show coordination between different parts of the body to maintain homeostasis inside the body. Now, majority of the organisms are having their own internal mechanism of running their body. So, in the other word, we can say that It is a constant internal environment of their body. For example, we as being humans, we have a particular temperature of our body that is nearly to 37 degrees Celsius. We have a particular amount of water which is present in our body. We have particular pH of our blood. We have particular blood pressure, etc. So these are the internal environment, and we are maintaining it by ourselves, being a living organism, right? So that is called homeostasis, maintenance of the internal state at a constant level. And the fourth one, the characteristic number 4 is they have ability of movement and locomotion, which is one of the most important characteristic feature of living organism. Movement makes living organism very special in order to respond their environment. Like movement is shown by almost each and every organism which is present on the earth, but very few are able to locomote from one place to the other, right? Especially animals are able to locomote from one place to the other, but plants cannot locomote, but definitely they show the movement, right? So ability of movement and locomotion is one of the key feature of the living organism. Two more properties which are shown here. They show metabolic functions in the presence of energy, right? And due to these metabolic functions, they have the ability of internal growth and development. These are the two combined form of the characteristic feature, we can say. Fine. Metabolic function, that is the one of the key feature of any of the living organism, though it is unicellular, though it is multicellular. The main or the basic unit of life is cell, right? For example, we are multicellular organism, but we are composed of cell, as we know all, right? So cells are the basic functional and structural unit of our body. Now what is function of cell? What kind of activity is being shown by the cell? So the shortest answer is metabolism. In order to perform their physiological functions, they show metabolic functions, which are actually chemical reactions which are happening inside the cytoplasm, inside the cell. So in the cell, in the cytoplasm, they are doing so many anabolic or catabolic reactions, chemical reactions, which are known to be metabolic functions. So they have that capacity of doing metabolic activities, but for doing the metabolic activities, they need energy. That too in the form of the ATP. They have ability of internal growth and development as a result of the metabolic activities. So they show a growth and development, right? We know that we are growing, we are developing ourselves throughout the life cycle, starting from we are getting birth till we get die. We show a particular pattern of growth during our developmental stage, though both phenomena are slightly different than each other. Growth is different phenomena, development is different phenomena. Development is from the time organism is getting birth till it death, right? So the entire set of activities, entire set of differences, what are changes which are happened inside the living organism is development, and growth is a part of development. That's what we are about to remember. Next important characteristic feature of living organism is these means living organisms have specific receptor, that is sense organs, to receive external or internal stimuli and specific effector as well to respond, right? Muscles and glands, they give a specific responses in order to a particular type of the sense, right? So sensory mechanism and response are two very important characteristic feature which is there in living organism, and due to that we can actually respond and change ourselves accordingly to the changes which are happening around us into our environmental conditions. Adaptation, right? Due to the these characteristic feature we can adapt to the environment. Next characteristic feature is these, that is living organisms have regulatory mechanisms, that is nerves or hormones, which are in animals and only hormones in plants. Look, plants are actually not having any sort of organs, including sense organs like brain or nerves, etc. There is no organ including brain or nerve. So they do not have nerve for the regulation mechanism, as if we have it. We have brain, we have neurons, we have spinal cords, we have nerves, right? But being at lowest at the developmental stage, plant do not show that kind of particular adaptability. So they have only few chemicals which are known as hormones, right? So hormones, they are found in plants, and nerves and hormones both are found in animals to maintain homeostasis inside the body. So they are regulatory mechanisms, and due to that regulation we can easily maintain homeostasis of our body. Now these, that is living organism, shows adaptation to their environment to increase their chance of survival. Adaptation, that is by regulatory mechanism, by specific receptors, by ability of internal growth and development, we can change ourselves, we can change our characteristic feature, we can change our behavior, and that's what is called as adaptation. So we are adapted to the environment, or we can adapt, we can show the adaptation to the environment, and that is how we have chance of survival greater than the others, right? So in order to survive we are showing adaptation. That is what the role of adaptation, it increases the chance of survival, right? 10th characteristic feature of living organism, they show variation, that is differences which help in speciation, making a different species than the current, right? And evolution, and that is how we are viewing so many different types of species around us. It is gradual process which have happened through crores years of the evolution process. From one type of the organism it is converted by adaptation, by creating new character into the new type of the species, that is called speciation, right? So they show variation, and they are converting into new species, that is speciation, and it plays important role in evolution. The next character is they have reproductive power, one of the most and first most important characteristic feature of living organism. They can reproduce, they can create their own offspring, they can create their next generation, right? To continue their race, continue into the environment, continue into uh, their surrounding. Fine. So reproductive power is important for creating their babies, that is now we are saying it as offsprings, right? Next character, these have definite lifespan, that is period from birth to death. So all are having a particular lifespan from the time they are getting birth to they are being dead. Fine. And 13th characteristic feature is these go undergoes aging after adulthood and then a natural death, right? So at the end of lifespan they fall dead. Why? Because of increased amount of the activities lifelong, our body becomes weak, weak and weaker, and that is how we fall death at the end. This particular phenomena we are about to see later in this chapter, right? Now we are about to study the one of the important characteristic feature of living organism, that they show biological organization. So we are about to learn how we are arranging living organism, and that is what biological organization, right? We are organizing them, we are studying them at what level they are arranged of. So first is level of organization, which is common in both living and non-living things, right? So level or of the organization which is found in both living and non-living organism. First, atomic level. Now, the lowest level of organization in both living and non-living is the atom, as all living organisms are basically made up of the four chemical element, that is carbon number 1, hydrogen number 2, uh, oxygen number 3, and nitrogen number 4, with only about 1% the other element. Matlab 99% those four, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen, and the other rest are only 1%. But if I say about non-living matter, they possess other element into large quantity such as silica, calcium, iron, etc. in variable or variety of the composition. So atomic, though they are non-living things also made up of atom and living things also made up of atom, but composition of atom is different in both. That is the first level of organization which is found in living and non-living things. Second is molecular level. In non-living thing as well, they have molecules. In living thing as well, we have molecules, right? So atom which are combining to form molecules which undergo chemical reaction to form the organelles in living organism. Fine. So atom makes the molecule, molecules make inorganic compound, inorganic compound makes simple organic compound, and simple organic compound makes complex organic compound. These complex organic compound makes the protoplasm, that is cytoplasm plus living organelles inside the cell. It is combinedly forming the protoplasm, and ultimately it is resulting into the cell, right? So that's the first level of organization what we are observing right now, right? Let us see the other level of the organization which is found only in living organism, not in non-living or not living non-living things, right? Fine. The level of organization which is found only in living organisms. If you see at the bottom, we have seen this one in standard 9. Cell. Cell makes the tissue. Tissue makes the organ. Organ makes the organ system. And organ system makes the individual. Fine. So our first level is cellular level. Now all multicellular organisms which are made up of cells, and the cell is considered as the basic unit of the life and constituent the smallest level of the organization of the living organism. Second, tissue level. Multicellular organism. In multicellular organisms, cells similar or dissimilar which are having a common origin and common function, and they combine to form tissue which performs a specific role. So tissue is designated to create a particular role, to perform a particular role. That is, for example, xylem which is conducting water and minerals into the plant. For example, our muscle, it is responsible for locomotion and movement. For example, our neurons, nervous tissue, it is responsible for control and coordination mechanism, right? Third level of the organization is the organ level. As cell makes tissue, a group of tissue makes the organ to perform a particular type of job or work. So different tissue are organized to form distinct organ. For example, xylem, phloem, chlorenchyma, parenchyma get organized to form a leaf. So leaf is an organ. It is also having xylem, it is also having phloem, it is also having parenchymal tissue, etc. So different types of tissues are getting together for formation of a particular organ, and that organ actually is for a particular type of job, that is physiological functions, right? Next is organ system level, a very higher level of the organisms, majority into the animals. This level is seen organ system level, group of organs that coordinates to perform a major functions forms the organ system. For example, the brain, which is working with the spinal cord and a network of the nerves to form nervous system. So one at the highest level of the development, one physiological function is performed by a particular organ system which is having a particular organs to form them, and organs are having particular tissue which is formed by the cells. So organ system, if I consider myself, I have so many organ systems. So organ system is actually making or forming my body. So next level is individual or the organismic level. So a multicellular individuals having many organ system to form organismic level of the organism, right? So that's the second level of organization which are found only in the living organisms. Now the last level of the biology, and that is the level of organization which is beyond the individual organisms, which is actually imagination, right? Not it is viewable, it is imagination. First is population of a particular large area. Now all the individual of a species in a particular area where they interact with each other belong to a population. It is said to be the population. For example, there is a population of oak tree uh, in a temperate decidual forest, or population of humans in a particular jilla or state or country. Right. So it is at par of the level of the viewing of our eyesight. Fine. So it is beyond the individual organism. Second level is community level. Group of population is actually community. So population of different species of either plant or animals present in particular area makes up biotic community of that particular area. So biotic community is group of so many different populations in that particular area. That way you are supposed to understand it. Third level is ecosystem level. Right, ecosystem is furthermore vast area. So population of different plant and animal interact among themselves and with non-living component. So we have added one more feather, that is non-living component. Community level only plant and animal interacting with each other, but at ecosystem level plants and animal are interacting among themselves as well as they are interacting with non-living component of that area, and then we are studying, then it is called the ecosystem level. So we are adding non-living thing as well in our consideration, right? So that's the ecosystem level. And the last one is the biosphere level, the different ecosystems, small or big, all combinedly, fine, combinedly said, entire geographical region of the world forms the biosphere, or the entire livable part on the earth is the biosphere. Though it is water, though it is air, though it is on the land, everything, wheresoever you find the living organism, it is said to be the biosphere, right? So it is called level of organization which is beyond the individual organization. So population is, amongst them population is the smallest. Group of population is community, group of community is ecosystem, and ecosystem, if entire all the ecosystem combines to form the biosphere. Ready? So this is third level of the organization, which is beyond the individual. So what we have studied together is general characteristic feature of living organism and level of the biological organization of the living organism. Ready? So we are going deep into the other individual character of the living organism into the next slides. So enjoy your studying right now, though it is not enjoyable online, but then also we are supposed to be with great tempo of learning, right? So all the best. We are going ahead into the next slide. Bye and have a nice time.